So I messed up, and I jumped in this portal, and now I'm stuck in this strange dimension. This is Minecraft stranded in the Twilight Forest. It was day 41, and it was time to head back to the Highlands. It took me a while to find my way back, but eventually I found it. After defeating all 3 bosses, the acid rain was lifted, and I could now go into the caves. I mined this ore called Trollstein, and I tried smelting it, and this is another reason why I hate anything to do with trolls, because it doesn't do anything. I went a little deeper into the caves to see what was going on down here, and there was a lot of mobs, and I forgot I did not have a shield thanks to the Snow Queen. These caves were actually overpowered and there were diamonds everywhere, but to be honest I didn't really need them. I made a new shield and I was ready to go fight some more mobs. Hopefully this shield would last for a little longer at least. I went deeper into the caves and I found a new sort of mob. He hit me from pretty far away, but I took him down and he dropped nothing. It always seems like the cool mobs drop nothing. I found this new sort of stone and it took me a long time to mine. I had a feeling I was going in the right direction though. After mining it, I picked it up and it was called Dead Rock, but I realized that there was rain in the middle of the block and it was acid rain still. I'm pretty sure that meant there was still a curse somewhere and it needed to be lifted. I went out of the caves and I went up and I saw a ginormous castle in the distance, but I still needed to get up to the clouds first. But the cloud was super high and I didn't really have any blocks. I went back into the caves and I found a really weird room. It had a bunch of mushrooms and witches everywhere. It probably took me a good 5 minutes to clear out this cave from all the mobs, but thankfully my armor and sword were good enough to do the job. I found this obsidian box and it was just kind of sitting here, so I dug into it to see what was up. I realized it was hollow and there was a chest inside. I opened the chest and I got magic beans. Pretty weird thing to find in the middle of an obsidian box, but I'll take it. As I went through the cave, I found an even bigger obsidian box. But this one I didn't have any luck with. I mined for so long and I couldn't even break it. I went back to the surface and I was gonna see what these magic beans did. It seemed like I had to place them on that soil that it came with in the chest. I was really hoping this had some sort of Jack and the Beanstalk story to it, and I was gonna try it out. In day 42, I went a little bit away from the cloud and I found this type of soil. I grabbed the magic beans from my inventory and hopefully this would produce a beanstalk. I was also hoping it would be tall enough to get up to the cloud. And oh man, was this a tall beanstalk. Right after I placed the beans onto the soil, the beanstalk grew into the clouds and I couldn't even see the top. Well, there was only one thing I could do now, and that was slowly climb this ginormous beanstalk. Hopefully I could get up to the cloud from here. When I went up there, I noticed the cloud blocks looked really big, and there was a massive tree up there. When I got a little higher, I saw giant me's. Yep, that was me, but in giant form. And there was even one giant me with armor. This was gonna be interesting. This is not what I was expecting. The beanstalk grew a little bit away from the cloud, so I had to build my way over. I was really skeptical to see if this cloud block would just make me sink all the way through, or I could stand on it. I went for a leap of faith, and I took damage, but I didn't sink through. I tried mining it to see what it dropped, and it dropped a fluffy cloud. Pretty interesting. Now the real question is what this whole place was. It seemed like me saw me, and I started walking over to myself in giant form. Surely me wouldn't attack me, right? Nope, I was wrong. I started attacking myself. So it looked like I had to fight giant me. It's safe to say that there could only be one Evbo around, and it wasn't gonna be these giants. The giant Evbos were really annoying to deal with because they could hit me from super far away. But I landed some sort of combo and the giant dropped a huge pickaxe. This was called the Giant's Pickaxe. And let me just tell you, this thing was like 3 times bigger than me. Oh my lord, it looked huge. The pickaxe said that it mines giant blocks. I don't even know what that means. Alright, it was time to take out the armored Evbo. This guy was a little tougher to take out, especially since he had backup that came out of nowhere. I don't know how I did not see this giant Evbo coming. I took down one of them and he dropped a huge sword. I picked it up and totally couldn't have guessed. It was called the Giant's Sword. I tried using it, but the attack speed was so slow that I don't even think it was much better than my current sword. I switched back to my fiery sword and just tanked the hits that the giant was dealing to me, and I took him down too. He dropped another sword. Each giant sword had a base damage of plus 12, which was very strong. I went over to this giant house to see what was up, and when I went inside, well, there were more giants in there. It was time to fight more Evbos again. I don't know if they spawned from here or what, but I took both of them down and I didn't see anything else inside this house. I decided to use the giant's pickaxe and it broke this huge block, but it only dropped one, and this was called giant cobblestone. I went to go and place it, and yeah, this placed a 4x4 block of cobblestone. This was interesting. But after checking out the house, I really got a full view of this giant castle ahead. And oh my, this was one huge castle. I don't even know if I was looking at the entrance or not, but I couldn't even see the end of it. But I could still see acid rain, so it still looks like I had more to clear before I could go in. Well, the problem was that I didn't have any leads, so it was time to go exploring for a while. It was day 50 and I am now on another giant cloud. You know what I'm doing again, I'm taking down more giants. Only one Evbo is allowed to exist in this world. I spent the past 8 or so days getting a lot of enchantments for my armor and getting geared up, but I kept searching around for a way to lift this curse and I couldn't find anything. I had sharpness 4 and power 4 on most of my weapons, and I went back to the snow biome to get a new Yeti helmet because my old one was about to break. But I put unbreaking on most of my stuff, so hopefully this would last me for a while. It seemed like there was no quick way down, so you know I had to go for the jump, and I made it. Luckily. Yeah, that could have gone way worse for me. There was still acid rain, but I tried breaking the thorns, and when I broke one, it grew a new one. And when I broke the new one, it grew 2 new ones. So it seemed like that was not the way to go. I remembered that there was a giant obsidian box that I didn't open. Thanks to my giant pickaxe that broke pretty much everything in its path, well, I mined down pretty quickly, and I actually stumbled upon it very fast. The giant pickaxe took a long time, but it was actually breaking the obsidian. And this makes sense now. This obsidian box was not made out of regular obsidian, but giant obsidian. I broke into it, and I found a double chest. But there was only magic beans. I was a bit disappointed at first, but then I realized there was a second double chest right behind it, and there was this thing called the Lamp of Cinders. Well, I took the lamp, and when I went back up, it seemed like the acid rain had disappeared. It seemed like the lamp was the key. I took out the lamp and put it in my hotbar, and when I went over to the thorns, I right-clicked on one of them, and it turned it to dust. It seemed like this lamp was the only way to burn through all of these thorns. It also turns out that you can charge up the lamp, and it will take out a bunch of them in one single shot. So there was only one thing to do at this point, and that was charge my way through all of these thorns. I did not realize how many thorns stood in the way of me and the giant castle. When I finally got to the castle, I tried breaking in, but nope, that did not seem to work. So I went all the way through the thorns, and I found myself at the foot of this ginormous castle. It was so big I could not even fathom the size of it. This was hopefully where I was gonna take down the final boss and beat the Twilight Forest.